All right. New poll numbers in for Joe Biden. Disaster. Okay. We'll probably be blamed from this too. Over the weekend, New York Times had a story about sexual assault allegations against Joe Biden. Really, right after Bernie Sanders dropped out. I wonder if anyone could have seen that coming. Oh, right, us. We saw that coming. So I talked about that on Twitter, and some folks in the media were like, I do declare. Are you saying the New York Times might have been biased and held this story until after Bernie Sanders, who they despise, left the race? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. I said it before it happened. I was completely right. I'm saying it after it happened. So now we're going to talk more about that in the live show. 5:30 p.m. Eastern is when the interview starts. 6 o'clock is when the Young Turks start. Check that out, youtube.com/TYT. Okay, but I bring that up in this context because now the New York Times polling expert, says, turns out Joe Biden's lead not only is weak, but it might not exist at all. After the New York Times got done telling us for the last year about how great and electable Joe Biden is, most electable, oh, Bernie's out of the race, not at all electable. Biden is in deep trouble. So when I say this, the mainstream media will again say, I do declare, are you claiming that the New York Times favored Biden while Bernie was in the race and has now dropped that edifice and preface and pretense? Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So let's go to it. Nate Cohn is their their polling expert. Not to be confused with Nate Silver, okay, who's a different polling expert. And he says, look, the good news is, well, he doesn't say good news, but let's keep it real. Anyway, if you want Biden to win, the good news is that he has a 6-point lead nationwide. Well, that sounds pretty good, right? No. In the battleground states that you need to win in the Midwest, he doesn't really have a lead. In fact, let me give you the exact quote here. Cohen writes, the election will be decided by voters in the battleground states, not registered voters nationwide. And there, the story is not nearly so clear or rosy for Mr. Biden. He holds only a narrow and tenuous edge in the race for the Electoral College, if he holds one at all. End of quote. The same people who told us he was the most electable candidate, and you should definitely not vote for Bernie Sanders, because Joe Biden is the most electable. Sanders is out of the race. Now they're like, oh, no, Biden, no, he's not going to win. He doesn't even have a race. He doesn't even have a lead in the battleground states. The places where we said he'd be strong. In fact, that leads to an even more damning quote. The results, he says, of the polling suggest that Mr. Biden, despite his reputed appeal to blue-collar workers, has made little or no progress in winning back the white voters without a college degree who supported Barack Obama in 2012 but swung to Mr. Trump in 2016. Well, where did he get his reputed appeal to blue-collar workers? Oh, right, you guys, the New York Times and NPR and Washington Post and MSNBC and CNN, you all claimed, oh, Joe Biden, the blue-collar workers love Joe Biden. We said the whole time, these numbers are not new. They were here during the primaries. We said the whole time, no, if you look at the numbers, he does not do well with blue-collar workers. They're like, oh, no, please. He has a reputed, wonderful appeal to blue-collar workers. Bernie's out? Oh, no, we were lying the whole time. We're kidding. Ha ha. Joke's on you. Joke's on the Democratic Party. Joke's on Democratic voters. No, Joe Biden does not have that appeal. If he has a lead at all in the Electoral College, now the New York Times says. This is not a thing I want to say we told you on, and I hope that he turns it around, and I hope that he wins. And Trump's a terrible president, obviously, but I actually think he's a terrible candidate. I think he's terribly unpopular. I think almost anyone could beat him, but almost. And so if Joe Biden clears that incredibly low bar, I will be tremendously relieved. But what we're worried about is that he doesn't have the capacity to clear even the lowest bar. We said that, and we were consistent throughout. The mainstream media told you, oh, he's way high, super high, going to clear the bar easy. Now they're saying, no, just kidding. Totally lying to you the whole time. Now that Bernie's out, great. Now we'll tell you the truth. Turns out there's sexual assault allegations. It turns out his poll numbers are disastrous. It turns out he sucks in the battleground states. He sucks with blue-collar workers. Isn't that funny how we kept that from you? In fact, we told you the exact opposite for a whole straight year. That's so funny how we tricked you. Yeah, thanks. We appreciate it. Okay, yes, let me acknowledge Nick Cohn is not the same person who wrote the articles about, not necessarily the same person. I haven't read every single article he wrote that's told you Biden was electable. Their pundits are a little bit different than their polling analysts, etc. Their columnists are different than their reporters. But probably the worst of all is their editors. The editors who make the decisions about what the narratives are. The narrative now is Joe Biden is good with blue-collar workers. Where do you get the narrative? I made it up. It's my gut. It's my instinct. Well, the numbers don't indicate that. Yes, but we will not share those numbers until later. All right, so it's not a conspiracy, guys. It's groupthink. Everybody in there, I know Anna will yell at me and say, no, they have bad intent. And some of them definitely do. But overall, they all just in their bones, Bernie can't win. It can't be Bernie. It can't be Bernie. I hate Bernie so much that no one could possibly like him. The polling indicates that a lot of people like him. But I'm going to ignore that because everyone I know is in the elites and we can't stand him. And we love Joe Biden. He's going to bring us back to normal, where we were in charge, where we had power, all of the power. Oh, normal's so good. I mean, your wages suck under normal. Your wages suck so much under normal that you elected Trump. But the elites love normal. We love Joe Biden. Oh, but Bernie's out of the way? Okay, we'll tell you. He's in a lot of trouble. Okay, the last thing, guys, for now. By the way, if you want the truth, tyt.com/go. Help us stay in business, stay healthy, help us press on, help us go forward, because you ain't going to get the truth from these guys until it's too late. I mean, how many times do we have to prove it to you? How many times do we have to tell you ahead of time? You see it with your own eyes, and then we tell you afterwards. And afterwards, they all get so hurt. Anyway, most important thing here is, now you want to know who Bernie pulled the best with? Other than young people. Young people that was the strongest category. Blue-collar workers without a high school degree. Without a college degree. And when he polled well in that, I remember the column where they said, all he does is poll well with people with high school degrees. Elizabeth Warren, on the other hand, and I'm famously known for liking Elizabeth Warren and defending Elizabeth Warren, and progressives are super mad at me for that, but let's keep it real on how things were framed. So, and I'm unbiased in that sense. You can say, hey, your perspective on Warren is wrong, and I hear you based on what happened, but I endorse Bernie, but I am open-minded. I try to be as fair as possible. In that sense, at the time, I liked Warren a lot as a candidate, but when they wrote, Bernie does well with people with high school degrees, but Warren is so much better because she does better with people with college degrees. And their implication was, please, sophisticated and smart people like Elizabeth Warren. So the framing back then was, Bernie, he does well with voters we need to win the general election. Oh, no, don't say it that way. Don't say it that way. No. Insult them. Say people with high school degrees. That's who Bernie does well with. Whereas Elizabeth Warren and the others, they do so well with sophisticated people, like the kind of people who write at the New York Times and work at NPR, right? Back then, that was characterized as a negative. Now they turn around that Bernie's out of the race. They're like, oh my God, it turns out we need blue-collar workers who only have high school degrees in the battleground states in the Midwest. That's what we told you. That's what we told you. And if Biden loses, guaranteed, they blame you, they blame Bernie, they blame me. They say, well, but we try to warn you. No, you told people not to vote for him by pointing out the polling. No, I didn't tell people not to vote for him. I did in the primary, goddamn right, because we're right and you're wrong. And now you admit you're wrong. But anyway. All right, so here we go. God help us. I don't know if Biden's the nominee the whole way. If he is, it's going to be a nail biter. Here we go again. Two non-desirable candidates that the country doesn't really want. Okay, I can't help but add one last thing. So they say, oh, well, it doesn't matter because Bernie didn't win Michigan and Wisconsin. So where was all of his strength in the Midwest, like you guys claim? Well, the part they don't tell you is that Bernie had giant leads in Michigan and Wisconsin until South Carolina and Super Tuesday, and afterwards the press said, the race is over, it's over, it's over, Bernie should get out of the race, the race is over, Biden's the winner, Bernie Sanders should get out of the race. So everybody thought the race is over. And so that, and Bernie, because everyone in the media yelled that Bernie was being a bad guy by staying in the race. They're like, oh, I don't know, I guess I should help the Democratic Party by getting in there. And Biden already won, so let's make sure you vote for him and don't vote for Bernie, because then it'll drag out the race and hurt the Democratic Party. That's what Joe Scarborough and Joy Reid told me. They can't, and the New York Times and Washington Post said it, NPR and PBS said it. It must be true, especially with older voters. So that's why he didn't win Michigan and Wisconsin. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You can you can Google anything I say. You could, and I want you to, and please fact check anything I say. You will see that Bernie 6 weeks ago had a 17-point lead in Wisconsin, because he's popular with exactly the kind of people that live in those Midwestern states that are blue collar. And now the New York Times says, oops, it turns out we need those voters. And will only be blamed for being right. And that's how this game is played. Okay, we'll see you guys. 5:30 is when the interviews start. Nomi Prince, David Soroto, Sean King. We got amazing interviews coming up all throughout this week, including today. 6 o'clock is when the Young Turks starts. YouTube.com/TYT. We'll see you there.